She thought she knew every inch of his library, every book, every margin note. It was just another quiet evening, rain tapping the windows, tea gone cold. She opened a book he'd left out for weeks, same one he always reread. Halfway through, a page felt thicker than it should have. She pinched it open and found a folded note tucked inside. Not printed. Handwritten tie-tay. Slanted, hurried ink. Address tool. Her breath caught. It wasn't to her. She read the first line. Last night was dangerous. I think she suspects. Her hands trembled. The teacup cracked in her lap. This wasn't fiction. This was a confession. She ripped through the shelves like they were hiding bodies. Book after book, pages whispered lies, real names, secret dates, hotel codes. Some were scribbled in margins, others folded deep in chapters. He wasn't just writing fiction. He was archiving infidelity. There were dozens of women, each with initials, each with stories. The bedroom door creaked open behind her. She froze. Looking for something? He asked, calm as ever. She turned, heart pounding. No, just reading. He smiled. Those are my favorites. And then he walked away, leaving silence behind him like poison. She didn't scream. She didn't throw anything. She opened her laptop and started typing. Every letter, every quote, every sick metaphor. She transcribed it all. But she didn't just copy. She expanded, named names, drew maps. She wrote it like fiction, but every word was the truth. This wasn't revenge. It was documentation. Each page sharpened her grief into clarity. He wanted to immortalize his sins? She'd publish them. By sunrise, the outline was done, and she titled it, Why the Man Who Wrote His Own Downfall. She walked into the agency with a smile and a storm in her bag. The manuscript was raw, brutal, addictive, and utterly unputdownable. It reads like a thriller, the agent said, flipping pages wide-eyed. It is, she replied. Every chapter happened. The agent leaned back, stunned. Are you sure you want this out there? She nodded. Yeah, made it public the moment he wrote it in ink. The contract came fast. The deal, faster. By the end of the week, publishers were fighting for it. No one knew the author's name yet, but that was about to change. She was no longer a wife. She was a weapon with a pen. The book dropped like a bombshell. The Man Who Wrote His Own Downfall hit shelves with zero warning. It read like fiction, but felt too specific to be fake. Readers devoured it. Reviews poured in. Speculation exploded online. Who is the man? Is this real? Is this about a famous writer? Her husband read it in silence. And then he stopped showing up to readings. Colleagues distanced themselves. Clients vanished. His name became a guessing game. But her face? It was on posters, magazine covers, trending hashtags. She wasn't anonymous anymore. She was a best-selling truth teller, and the world couldn't look away. He watched it all unravel from the same study he used to hide his secrets. The bookshelf mocked him. The pages betrayed him. He tried to claim fiction, but the details were too sharp. One mistress confirmed everything on a podcast. Another posted receipts, literally. Publishers cut ties. Deacon gigs disappeared. He was once celebrated for his emotional depth. Now he was infamous for moral bankruptcy. He tried to sue, but every claim was true. Every word she wrote was backed up. His silence became the loudest proof. He lost everything. While she signed autographs, the lines stretched around the block. People held copies close to their chests like holy texts. You gave us all a voice. One woman whispered through tears. She smiled gently, pen poised. No one should have to whisper truth. The cameras flashed. Journalists hovered. But she wasn't nervous. She was glowing. This wasn't a revenge tour. It was reclamation. She signed each book like it was a final goodbye to the woman she used to be. The betrayed, the silenced, the forgotten. Now she was unforgettable. That night, sleep didn't come easily. The applause faded. The lights dimmed. But the silence still spoke. She remembered every time she ignored a red flag. Every dinner eaten in tension. Every night he stayed late at the office. She wondered if she'd ever really known him at all. But in that stillness, one truth rang louder than pain. She had survived him. She had turned his lies into her legacy. And for the first time in years, the silence didn't hurt. It healed. The host leaned forward. Did he ever apologize? She exhaled, slow and steady. No, and I no longer need one. The audience held their breath. Would you write it all again? The host asked. She looked straight into the camera. Every single word. She didn't flinch. She didn't soften. This wasn't bitterness. It was boldness. She wasn't a victim telling her story. She was the author owning it. What do you want people to take from the book? Bueno, she smiled. That the truth always finds its voice, even in fiction. She didn't expect the sisterhood that followed. Readers became friends. Survivors became a movement. They met in bookstores, cafes, online circles, bound by betrayal, freed by truth. He hid behind fiction, one woman said. You burned the curtain. They shared tears and toasts, laughter and long silences. Each story echoed hers, but each one unique and powerful. This was no longer just about her husband. It was about every lie disguised as loyalty, and every woman who finally decided to speak. Together, they were louder than silence. The lawsuits came fast, but not from her. Old colleagues, ex-lovers, betrayed collaborators stepped forward with receipts. The courtroom became a revolving door of exposure. He tried to spin it, blamed her, but no one was buying his fiction anymore. Every denial was drowned by screenshots and sworn statements. His reputation wasn't just cracked, it was shattered. The man who once authored best-selling lies now starred in a public downfall. And while the cameras flashed, she wasn't anywhere near the courtroom. She didn't need revenge. The truth did the work for her. She stood at the mic, holding the paperback like a torch. I didn't write this to destroy someone, she said. I wrote it to rebuild myself. E.T. The crowd was silent, not in boredom but in reverence. Every time we stay quiet, we let someone else write our ending. Yassi. Hands clapped. Eyes teared. Truth resonated. She looked around the room. No judgment, no shame. Only women who knew exactly what it meant to feel invisible. But not anymore. Now they were the story. She escaped the noise for a while, not to hide, but to create. A cabin in the woods, no reception, just her and the page. Her second book had nothing to do with betrayal. It was about healing, forgiveness, and finding your voice again. She wasn't writing to confront the past anymore. She was writing to shape her future. The pain was still there, but now it was fuel. The woman who once discovered secrets in pages was now crafting her own. No hidden notes, no lies in margins. Only truth, carved in ink. He tried to publish again, but no one listened. His name was now synonymous with scandal, not storytelling. His book sat dusty on clearance racks, untouched. The same critics who once praised him now dismissed him with a shrug. He gave readings to near-empty rooms, hoping someone cared. But fame is fragile, especially when built on betrayal. He watched her face on billboards, heard her voice in interviews, and realized he hadn't just lost her. He'd lost everything he once stood for. He wasn't the author anymore. He was just a footnote in her legacy. She no longer measured success in sales or signatures. It was in peace, shared wine, quiet laughter, real conversations. Her friends no longer asked about him. They asked about her next chapter. "What's it about?" someone asked, smiling. She looked at the skyline and answered softly, "Beginning again." There was no bitterness in her tone, only freedom. She didn't need closure. She created continuation. Her story didn't end with betrayal. It expanded beyond it. She had no interest in revenge now, just joy, unedited, unscripted, completely hers. She stepped onto the stage, no notes, no nerves. The lights hit her like truth always had, full and blinding. She wasn't there to tell her story again. She was there to ignite others. "We're told to forgive quietly, to suffer beautifully," she began. "But silence doesn't heal. Telling the truth does." And the room was still, 1,000 hearts sensing to her words. She spoke not as a victim, but as a mirror, reflecting the strength it takes to stand back up. And when she finished, the applause rose like thunder. Not for a book, but for a woman who refused to be erased. Her book was no longer trending, but it never stopped selling. It lived on quiet shelves, passed between friends and strangers. Staff picks, college reading lists, therapy, waiting rooms. People found it at the exact moment they needed it. "This saved me," one handwritten note read inside a used copy. She kept a photo of that message, more meaningful than any review. It wasn't fame she chased. It was connection. Her pain had become a path, for her and for others. Stories don't need to shout to be heard. Sometimes, a whisper on a page is enough. The sun rose like it always had, but now she saw it differently. Soft, simple, tendable, undemanding. She sat alone, pen poised above a blank page. No deadline, no bitterness, just breath and possibility. She no longer needed to prove anything, especially to him. Her story had already been told. But life was still being written. She smiled, whispered to herself, page 1 again. Not for revenge, not for survival, just because she finally could.